Hello, welcome, and thank you for watching this month's Tarot Talk. I'm intuitive reader Bryan Stafford from Stafford Tarot, and today's Tarot Talk topic is going to be about misconceptions with tarot readings. Now, to give some time for some viewers to join me on this live broadcast, I'm just going to first talk a little bit about what's new at Stafford Tarot and some of the upcoming events to look forward to. And then we'll get right into that Tarot Talk topic. And then finally, I'm going to be offering on this broadcast 6 free short distant readings for anyone who's interested and shows interest in the chat during the broadcast. Now, if you're watching this from my website and you're interested to see these sample readings, please just feel free to skip ahead about 20-30 minutes in the video. And in the meantime, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what's new to give some time for some more viewers to join. And at any time, please, if you're interested, write in the chat that you're interested to receive a free reading tonight, and I will add you to the list. So what's new? At Stafford Tarot, I'm always keeping the website up to date. That's www.staffordtarot.com. There you can find and read all sorts of background information about me, as well as testimonials and frequently asked questions. And you can learn about the tarot decks and oracle decks that I use within my readings. There's even a section devoted to learning how to do tarot for yourself if that interests you. And there's also the many blog entries. There's so much to explore and discover if tarot interests you. Just check it out on my website. I have some amazing products coming. I'm really looking forward to this, such as my intuitive reading envelopes. I actually have one here. These intuitive reading envelopes are going to be found at the Stafford Tarot table at any markets and festivals that I participate in. And what it is that on my table, there's going to be a basket of all sorts of different envelopes. And you pick the one that is intuitively drawn to you, and inside will be a personal divinatory message personally for you based on a 3-card pull. And inside each envelope is your message, as well as those 3 cards that the message was based on, included in each envelope. I'm also looking forward to coming soon. I'm going to be making some personalized rune sets, witten sticks, as well as other divination tools. And then also coming up, I'm really excited to get started on creating full starter kits for tarot and other divination. So watch for those details as all of this unfolds. It will be available on my website, staffordtarot.com. I'm just seeing some chat here. Absolutely. Thank you, Lindsay, for joining, and I will add you to the list. I see you're interested in a chat. Hi, Elizabeth. Absolutely. I've added you to the list. And Jeff, you'll be third. And I have 3 other spots available. If there's more people as we go through the evening, I'm sure others may join. I should let everyone know that each free distant short reading takes about 15 minutes. So if you're third on the list, such as Jeff, there's going to be at least a half an hour wait before I get to you once we start those readings. So just keep that in mind as you're watching. Please stay with us, and eventually I will get to you on the list. And anyone else who's interested, just write interested in the chat and I can add you as well. Again, I have 3 more spots available. So some of the upcoming events that I'm really looking forward to, of course, you can check out the new moon oracle poll from the recent new moon. It's been released on the website. And the next full moon oracle poll is going to be released before March 25th, 2024. So I've gained a lot of feedback from those polls. They happen every 2 weeks, roughly around the new moon and the full moon. And it's really just a 2-card poll on the energies, the general public energies that everyone may be feeling. And it's just to give a little bit of help during those times. Before that, though, my next free draw is going to be happening on Monday, March 18th, 2024. You have until about 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time that day to get involved. How do you get involved? You simply like, comment, or share any social media that mentions the draw. You can share the draw website page as well. And or you can just reach out to me directly and let me know that you're interested, and I'll automatically include you in the draw. The draw happens on a 1 in 5. I try to keep the winning ratio 1 to 5. And the way that I do that is I pick one winner for every 5 people. So if I get 15 people in the draw, I'm pulling 3 names. If I get only 5 people, I'm pulling 1. So up to those numbers, I will try and keep it within 1 in 5. So you have a really good chance of receiving a free reading. The winners of the draw receive a free remote short reading. So that's 15 minutes with me directly on a video conference platform such as Zoom, teleconferencing, or video conferencing, I mean. So it's more direct than a distant reading. A distant reading, which is what I'm offering tonight, is sort of one way. I get the subject or topic that you're interested on your reading, and I give you the cards. And there isn't a lot or as much opportunity to ask questions, get more information. Whereas a remote reading is more direct. It's one-on-one through video chat. And so you have opportunity to ask questions at any time during the reading. You get to be participating in the reading really one-on-one. So that's the difference between. So if you're interested or that sounds interesting to you and you'd like to try out a free 15 minutes, just get involved in the draw or just let me know. Hello, everyone. I do see everyone saying hi. I really appreciate you coming and joining me here. Thank you for that question, Elizabeth. I am expanding to different areas of Ontario. So right now I am mostly in the Guelph and surrounding areas. I am expanding out into the Niagara region and moving more towards Toronto area. I am hoping to be in Ottawa in probably the summertime if I can arrange it and if I can get an event going or some readings out there. Definitely I will I'll let you know when I'm in the area. Keep watch on my website if you're ever interested where I'm participating, the events, festivals, and when I'll be doing local events as well. It's all available on my website in the upcoming events section. Thank you for that question. Hi, Andre. If you'd like to add you to my list of readings tonight, let me know and I can add you to my list. And you can receive a free reading when I get to the free readings. They are short, distant readings. And then, but if you have a question on anything about me or during this Tarot Talk discussion on the subject of misconceptions of tarot readings, by all means, add that into the chat as well. Thank you. I will add you. Okay, and one of the really exciting upcoming events that I'm looking forward to is I will be at the Mystic Nights Market at Rim Park in Waterloo, Ontario on Saturday, March 23rd, 2024. This is going to run from about 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time that day. If you're interested, all the information is available on my website. It's going to be a massive market of many vendors, different readers and different products to look at, and all sorts of a variety of mystical practitioners. Check it out. It's going to be great. Further on, more upcoming into the future, I'm going to be facilitating my Spirit Talk workshop, which is an introduction to mediumship, at the Witches Gathering Conference on Friday, May 3rd and Saturday, May 4th in Ancaster, Ontario. Tickets are now available and these workshops will be booking up soon. So if you're interested to participate, there are many more workshops available as well. The links and ticket information is available through my website, and that will direct you to Luna Events Canada, who's hosting this wonderful event. And side by side to that event, the Stafford Tarot table will be found at the market as well. So lots of excitement. We're going to be really busy that weekend. And so just getting those dates out there for anyone who may be interested to participate in the workshop. Now, if you're not available to join in person in the workshop, that's okay, because I am offering a remote version of that workshop on April 30th, 2024. It's going to start about 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it may go for about 2 hours, depending on how many participants I get in the workshop. I want to make sure that I'm thorough with everyone. Catch everyone's questions and get all that participation in the workshop. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a night of mediumship. If you're interested in the topic of mediumship, then this may be perfect for you. I'm going to be helping all of the participants channel themselves to do the mediumship in the same way that I do professionally. So I'm really looking forward to that. Again, those dates are virtual workshop on April 30th, 2024, starts about 7:30 p.m. Information's on my website, as well as in person at the Ancaster, Ontario Witches Gathering Conference on Friday, May 3rd or Saturday, May 4th. Check out the dates and times on the website. All the information is there. And that's www.staffordtarot.com. I'm just looking at some of the messages that have come in. I've never noticed that, Andre. That's a really good question. That would be a huge coincidence if every good psychic that you met had blue eyes. Absolutely. Well, thank you for that comment. So, if there's any questions about the Tarot Talk topic that we're discussing tonight, I'm going to move into that. Misconceptions of tarot readings. There are all sorts of misconceptions around tarot and around readers. If I'm not going to talk about the red flags or warning signs that you should watch for in a reader, I did cover that topic in a previous Tarot Talk discussion. It was a topic of discussion in a previous Tarot Talk. So check back on my website through the previous Tarot Talks if you're interested in that topic. But tonight I'm going to be talking about more of the misconceptions of tarot readings in general. And I do have a little bit of a list. I tried to think of as many as I could on some of the misconceptions that I've been confronted with, where people expected me to maybe tell the future and be very precise about that, or different situations or outcomes that may not be fully determined on how they're going to go in the future, things like that. I'm going to just go through my list one by one point and we're just going to discuss it. Please feel free to add your own misconceptions into the chat. If you have any questions about tarot readings, I'd be happy to discuss it here, or if there's anything that you've heard that maybe those comments that get made or whatever, we're happy to discuss it here. I'm just looking through here. Awesome. Thank you. So first of all, one of the biggest misconceptions that I've been confronted with in tarot readings have been that tarot cards are connected to evil in some way, or that tarot readings are connected to something really bad, or that divination tools create portals into spirit realms that you can't close and you become negatively impacted in some way. All of that I've never experienced in tarot. Tarot cards are certainly not connected to evil. They are an intuitive tool that is really meant for self-reflection, to create that self-reflection and dig out those messages that need to be heard from within. So in no way are they connected to evil. Tarot cards, as I mentioned earlier, tarot cards, it's often believed that tarot cards can predict the future. Now, tarot cards are really good at giving you the viewpoint of what things look like from this point on, like from the point of the reading itself. But once you have your reading and you've made your, you've gained your knowledge or your insight from the reading, you then use that knowledge and insight to make your choices moving into the future. And so tarot cards are really great guidance tool, but things can change if a tarot reading gave you a really great impression that something specific was going to happen, and then you don't follow through in the future with the steps that it would have taken for you to actually achieve that goal, you're not going to achieve the goal if you don't follow through with the steps. Like, perhaps the tarot was trying to tell you that that possibility was there and you really needed to, there was a chance you could pertain it, but you actually have to put in the effort to do it. Nothing just comes at you simply because you were told that it was definite. That's I think things have to be looked at in a realistic way in tarot. And that brings me to another point, is that some people have told me that tarot cards are magic, or that they're, and I mean that in the sense of like magic, magic. So meant to deceive the mind, or tricks of the hand, or are not actually giving you like that these messages could be meant for anyone. And I disagree with that. I would argue with using the term magic, magick, as the proper way of describing a tarot reading, in the sense that they draw out the messages from within you that needs to be heard. um, so in no way is it trying to deceive. It's really trying to pull out from within you what is important. Where do you connect with the messages of this, and how does that make a difference in how you're looking at it? And that's how you start to gain that perspective and new insight. There's a misconception that tarot readings give negative messages, and that they don't only give negative messages. You can get some really positive messages from tarot. And again, tarot will give you the messages that you needed to hear. Sometimes if we need to hear it, it could be hard to hear, or it could be delivered in a way that may be difficult to hear. And then quite often when that happens, after we ponder it and we think about it further, it then becomes insight and perspective. Sometimes the insight and perspective can come after a tarot reading, in sort of the foresight of what you've learned, or the insight that you may have gained, or as the situation unfolds, whatever the topic is on the table. I'm trying to just read the message that's there, I think. Andre, it's a really interesting question. When I pull the cards, do I also see flashes of something? Um, the cards are actually an intuitive based tool. And so I'm following my own intuition as the cards are being pulled. So in terms of things being flashed that I see, the wording that you used, I would more describe it as intuitive visions in my mind, or perhaps the first things that I'm drawn to when the cards are flipped over, and what that makes me feel, and the impression of that. And that is how my intuition is guiding me through each reading. So thank you for that. That's a good question. Another really misconception that I may have sort of touched on is that tarot readings are 100% accurate. And as I explained before, it's really there's two things that you have to keep in mind about accuracy within tarot readings. One of them is, as I've kind of touched on already, that the future can change. Nothing is completely solidified. The future is liquid. As we make decisions, as we follow through with actions, different things can change our course into the future. And so tarot readings are really good at giving you the point of reference from the point of the reading itself. If things change after that, it may not follow through with the way that the tarot reading saw, because things have changed. You'd need another tarot reading to see from that point then what it looks like from there. But another reason this can happen is because tarot readings are actually interpretations of those messages that need to be heard. So when you go to a tarot reader and they're doing a reading for you, so you're the sitter and you're receiving a reading from them, they are giving their interpretation of what the cards are saying, using intuition to guide, and it's up to the sitter to decide how this is accurate, how this connects with what you're going through, etc. And so, can that be under 100% accurate? Absolutely, because it's an interpretation. Um, Quite often during readings, it can happen where I'm interpreting something that maybe I've never experienced before, or that it's something that I don't have um, a lexicon for in my own associations. And so then I have to try and explain it in the best way that I can, in try and get to the best interpretation of what I'm sensing or feeling from the cards. Um, Often if I've made a mistake, it may not be connecting with my sitter, and then I have to try and think on what am I interpreting this in a way that could make more sense to my sitter because the interpretation may be off. That kind of thing. It's really not meant to be 100% accurate. It's meant for you to then take that information in, to then pull stuff out from deep within and say, is it connected to this? Is it connected to that? Oh, now you're suddenly looking into different areas that you may not have been looking at before. There's all sorts of different ways that you can gain insight and perspective from simply doing self readings or from gaining readings. I'm having a little bit of trouble seeing some of the messages. I hope that I'm not missing any. Exactly. Andre just brought up a really good point in the chat that there are also different interpretations of the cards themselves. The ways that one tarot reader may read the card may be different from the ways that another tarot reader reads the cards. And I have a really good example of that. Some tarot readers read the cards based on the colors that appear to them most in the card. Now, I don't tend to follow that perspective because me, myself, I'm colorblind. So I have limited amount of choices compared to the amount of choices that another tarot reader may see in that regards. Now, that being said, I do have a tarot deck that is color coded, but I've come to learn and taught myself where the elements are on each specific card so that I myself can recognize the suit, even though I'm not following the color code of the card itself. Um, and that brings me to another good point to talk about is that there's a misconception that some tarot cards are good and some tarot cards are bad. And a really good example of that is the misinterpretation of certain cards, such as the Death card. The Death card is probably one of the most commonly misinterpreted card because to many, from first glance, it may appear as though it's talking about mortality, when in fact it's actually usually referring to a big drastic change where something needs to be let go of and um, completed or finalized in order to move on from it into something new. Um, Another misinterpretation that sometimes happens is how to take care of the cards. Um, there are sometimes misunderstandings in which tarot cards need to be found. For example, there is a common rule that I've heard out there in the ether and in the internet that tarot cards, your first deck must be given or gifted to you in some way, that it has to find its way to you. You can't just go out and buy your own first tarot card. And I don't actually believe this. I actually, even though I was gifted my first tarot deck, I actually started with self readings, and there's only one way to do that, and sometimes that's to buy a tarot deck. Now, I do believe that tarot deck you should be drawn to that tarot deck. That, when you go out and you look at the options of tarot decks that are available, you should be drawn to the tarot deck. It needs to personally captivate you in order for it to work with your intuition. You have to create a personal connection with that card or that deck in order to give accurate self tarot readings. If you're not connecting with the specific deck that you've chosen to first start with, that deck may not be just working for you, and there's all sorts of other options that may be available for you that's more suitable. So don't believe that you can't get started if you've never been given or gifted a tarot deck. Also, some tarot readers will allow you to touch the cards in their own tarot readings. Some tarot readers prefer you not to touch the cards. In no way do I believe that touching the cards or someone else's cards is wrong. Cards are charged as soon as you pick them up and shuffle them. So cards can be cleared just in the same way. Um, it sometimes can be helpful to have someone else pick and choose the card. Some people like doing that. They feel like they're following their own intuition on sort of participating in an intuitive reading in themselves. And I'm totally fine with that as well. I support that actually. I really think that if someone feels intuitive enough to draw their own cards and maybe interpret their own messages and then get some advice on what those messages could mean, it's just a great learning tool on learning to do your self readings. Absolutely, Cynthia. I can add you to the list. And I have one more spot available. Now I'm going to go through the list quickly just because I've added a few names here. I want to make sure that if you missed, like if you asked for interest to get on the list and perhaps I missed you, just let me know if your name is missing from this list, okay? I have Lindsay, then Elizabeth, then Jeff, then Andre, then Cynthia. So I have one more spot available. If you showed interest and you didn't hear your name, let me know now in the chat just to make sure that I don't miss you. Um, Otherwise, I'll be watching for anyone who may be interested to fill that last spot. What are some other misconceptions that I haven't mentioned here? I'm just looking through my list. Um, Oh, yes, that tarot cards are not compatible with religion. I've heard this before, that I'm obviously not a religious person if I'm doing psychic readings and tarot cards, and I beg to differ. There are many Wiccans that get involved in divination tools, um, as well as other New Age type religions, and even you know Christians get involved in. I've seen Christians get involved in tarot. You can even get Christian oriented tarot or Catholic oriented cards that are more refer to like saints and the um, the stories and imageries of their religion rather than of the specific tarot symbolisms themselves, like Rider Waite Smith to symbolisms. They tend to follow a little bit more of their own guidance, and you can also find all sorts of like angel deck oracles. There are many different expressions of tarot and oracle decks that are out there for anyone who's interested. It really is so widely varied. Anyone could really pick up tarot. And that brings me to my next point, which is that there's a misconception that you must have strong psychic powers to do psychic readings, or to do tarot readings. And the misconception in that is that tarot cards are not a psychic tool; they are an intuitive tool. So if you want to build in on your intuition, then tarot could be for you. If you're expecting to do psychic abilities with tarot, you're going to be misled or mistaken. You can go hand in hand with any divination tool and psychic abilities, absolutely, but that's not the main focus of the tarot. So that's another misconception that's quite out there. And that being said, there's a misbelief that all readers follow the same rituals, the same style of reading, etc. As I keep reiterating over and over, it's an intuitive tool. And so the way that I follow my intuition may be different from the way another reader would follow their intuition. And that's simply because we have different life experiences, different associations, different things that may stand out for me in terms of my readings that someone else may be different in the way that they do theirs. Absolutely. I've gone to several readers myself, and I'm often um, intrigued by the differences in which another reader will read the cards, or do their divination tool, whatever the reading is on, and vice versa. I've had other readers come see me, and they just like the way that I've the style of readings that I give and what I focus on in my readings and what stands out for me as associations. And then the last thing I just want to touch on is that some people believe that tarot cards have to be wrapped in a specific type of silk cloth of a very specific color. There's many different ways in which you can ground and connect with your tarot cards. You can put crystals with your card. You don't have to have it so specific. I know some people that they keep it in the case and put it under their pillow for a few days to connect their energy to the deck. I know other tarot readers that have kept their deck in their pocket or on them throughout the day, like if they were carrying a pouch or a bag or a purse or something that they could set them in, they would carry them with them. There's all sorts of different ways in which people connect. There isn't one way. Again, you need to follow your intuition, and what speaks to you is going to work for you. It may not work for others. And that there is a misconception that you should not do self-readings. And this was kind of covered in a previous Tarot Talk discussion, but it's really about, I think it was a form of sort of controlling the field, so to speak. Like if you could give tarot readings and you were getting paid for tarot readings, you want people to come to you for your readings, not give themselves self-readings. I don't have that attitude. Tarot readers may get mad at me for this, but I often will teach tarot to anyone who's interested simply because they're interested and self-readings are possible. That's how I learned to do myself. I started when I was 12 years old and learned to do self-readings by the time I was 15 and started giving readings out to others. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't start building on my associations through self-readings before I started doing others' readings. And then from there, as I got older and years passed and my skills increased and I continued to learn different strategies and skills and tools and layouts and everything that was involved, I then started professionally. So I wouldn't have gotten this far if I didn't start with those self-readings. So my workshop is often based on teaching self-readings to others so that others can start with self-readings. And then if you feel you're ready, you can expand further on to giving readings for others. If there are any questions about misconceptions, please include them in the chat. I am watching the chat. Good evening, Janet. How are you? Nice to see everyone joining. I'm going to start with those free, short, distant readings. I do have one spot left. If anyone is interested to receive those readings and you weren't in the list yet, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll be starting with Lindsay. Lindsay, if you're available on the call, I'm going to be starting with your reading. Now, I always start my reading with a one-card impression pull from this deck. This just tells me where my sitter is sitting in the moment energetically. And then I'm going to move to this deck, and that's when, Lindsay, for this reading, you'll have an opportunity to ask me a question or give me a topic to focus on, or it can be left general. So I'm just connecting with that energy as I know Lindsay is on the call, and I'm just charging the cards with that intention. Absolutely, Janet. You are my last reading tonight. So Lindsay, did you notice that that card just kind of flipped out? And so I need to go with that. And for you, it's the Two of Wands. Here's what the card looks like. And notice that this person is sort of pondering the world. He's got the world in his hand, and he's got, in his other hand, he's chosen one of the wands and placed the other wand behind him, like he's turning away from it, like he's making a choice between wands. Now, wands in tarot represent actions to be taken. So if you feel like you're pondering between actions that need to be taken and you have to know how this is going to affect your world before you decide, that's really the energy of the of where you're sitting now. There's some sort of choice between actions, and you sort of need to know how that action of choice is going to affect you before you make that decision. Or you could be wondering that, sitting in wonder, like, if I choose this option, where will it lead? What will be brought from that? Does that make sense? Can you resonate with that? And a general reading. Absolutely, Lindsay. I'm just focusing on that general reading. Okay, thank you for that confirmation there, Lindsay, that you absolutely can resonate with what that card is telling you. And the three cards that have come out are all suits. One is a court card. I'm going to just start and work my way towards that court card. The first card that stands out for me most, I'm just going to go here. It's the Five of Swords. It looks like this. And you can see here, swords are about heavy thoughts and intellect. So this is heavy on your mind, what this reading is about. And I feel like for you, Lindsay, it feels like you're victorious, but there doesn't seem to be any winners. Almost like things may not have panned out the way that you had interpreted, or that you were able to be victorious, like you're the winner, but it's a drastic situation that doesn't make you feel like a winner, something like that. Now, what I'm also being told is that you're not changing the way you feel. There's something about the way that you feel that could be like important to you, or structuring or grounding to you. If this card wasn't reversed, it would suggest to me that you are accepting some new way to feel, or you're accepting, or you're receiving some um, new emotion of some kind. But this is really saying that you're kind of sticking to the emotion that you have. You're holding on to what it is, not trying to change into something else. Now, the last card that this reading kind of leads to is the Knight of Cups. It looks like this, and it is reversed in your reading. And what this tells me, Lindsay, is that you're trying to get on the go. You're trying to take action. You're trying to do what you need to do. And it's coming from the heart. And it's not, you're having trouble getting on the go. Either you're not sure what action needs to be taken, which would make sense to me if you're sitting in this area now making a choice still. I think once you decide what action you take, this card is going to flip around and you're going to be taking this action passionately. In the meantime, though, it looks like this. Now, it is possible, Lindsay, that these two cards may be flippable, in which case you would then take the action passionately, and that's going to show you a new way to feel, or that's going to bring you to a new emotion. So, but in the meantime, it looks like this. So with two cards reversed and one not, I feel like there's hope in this, but it's not an easy path. And the card that's giving hope is really about not having winners. So I'm not sure if you're looked, if it's almost frowned upon, or you're looked down at for what the actions that you're going through, or that you're trying to decide between. But don't let that stop you. I really feel like this is important to you. And if you can actually figure out what you're going to do and take that action, it shows taking that action with passion. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that that can be very um, um, inspiring, or what's the word I'm looking for? It's on the tip of my tongue. Like, just encouragement of yourself to proceed. Okay, so in contemplating that decision, because of the way the cards have come out here and what you just said in the chat, I think, Lindsay, you might want to look at how this action moving forward is going to make you feel. Because these two cards that are reversed, that I feel like are flippable, are both, I'm going to show them to you right side up, are both cups. And cups represent emotion, discovering a new emotion, a new way to feel, and taking action based on emotion. So because these are reversed, I feel like that's not happening yet, like you're not there because you haven't made the choice or the decision in where you're sitting. I hope that that makes sense. Now, I'd like to expand on this a little further, given that this seems like it's coming, like you're mostly with cups, when it's emotional like this and there's a decision that needs to be made, I feel like you're going to do what is right for you. I mean, it's about emotion, it's about passion, it's about how you feel. So I'm wondering if it would be helpful to get some advice from my heart chakra deck. This deck gives great insight in terms of what we need for ourselves. And I'm wondering if this will help you with that decision. Thank you for that, the affirmation there, Lindsay, that this all makes sense. So I'm just going to pull 3 cards quickly from this deck, and we're just going to read those cards together to see what kind of insight you need to hear for yourself in terms of the topic that's on the question, on the table. Now, one higher arcana has come out and it's reversed, and then you have these 2 other suits. I'm going to work my way to the higher arcana. They're usually the more important message out of a tarot reading. They kind of set the tone or the subject of the reading. And I'm just going to start and work my way towards it. This is the 7 of like wants and needs of what you need for yourself. This would be similar to a pentacle in other tarot structures. And it's the daydreams and decisions. And it's really about knowing for yourself what it is you want and need, what it is your goal is or your vision for the future is. 7 in numerology is all about spiritual development. And the color around the border tells me that this is about, like I said, it's like equal to a pentacle. It's about your needs and what you need for yourself. Pentacles often represent health and money for that reason alone, because it's like the needs of life. And daydreams and decisions, this card is often about what you want for yourself in your own spiritual development, how you envision your path. I think that what this is really saying is there's nothing wrong with your vision, that you're doing this, and it's part of the advice moving forward. You need to have a goal or a vision in what you want for yourself. Now, the next card is the 4 of emotion, and quite often when we mix emotion, which is the color of the border, and 4, which is like grounding and stability in numerology, when we mix those 2 together, we often get like finding our joy, finding our stability in ourselves. Now, these cards are not reversed. And so this is telling me that these are positive messages. I feel like they're speaking together in terms of the joy and stability as part of the daydreams and decisions moving forward. Now, this is the important message for you, Lindsay. The Blossom card is reversed. This is a higher arcana card. And so what this is saying is that the tone of the advice here is to believe in yourself. Right now, you may not believe in yourself. If the card was flipped like this, it would be like you'd be sitting in your power, you'd be blossoming, you'd be doing what you need to do. Now, when the card is reversed like this, it can be one of 2 things, and I feel like both of these are at play, okay? So keep this in mind as you move forward with this advice. Even though this is saying to move towards your vision and find your joy and stability, I think you need to take your time to do it and not push forward too quickly. I think this is a bit of a sensitive time of like in the decisions that you're making. So just keep that in mind. Don't rush it. I think you want to know that you're powerful, but you want to also hold back in the way that you need to and find that balance. What's not too strong, but what's strong enough? I hope that that is helpful for you, Lindsay. 7 is your lucky number. I love that. Keep that in mind. If that card stands out for you, 7's your lucky number in the spiritual development about daydreams and decisions, I would follow that. I think you really need to create a vision for yourself and stick to your goal. And it all starts with making this decision. I hope this was helpful. You're very welcome. I see your thank you message there. I'm going to move on to Elizabeth. Elizabeth, if you're on the call, let me know, and I will start with your reading too. I will always start with a 1-card impression pull, and then I'll move to my Morgan Greer deck, where I will focus on a topic or question that you give me, or it can be left general, depending on what needs to be heard most. So just let me know. There you are, Lindsay. Thank you so much. And thank you, Elizabeth, for letting me know that you're there. General? Sure, absolutely. I'm just clearing the decks and then I'll start charging them. Okay, so Elizabeth, this is for you. This is a 1-card impression pull that's going to tell me something about your energy in the moment. And then I'll move to this deck where I'll do a general reading for you that you've requested. Now for you, Lindsay, I get the 6 of blades, 6 of swords. The card looks like this, and it often represents moving on from something that you've been through. And this, whatever you've been through, is really heavy on your mind. You've had to make decisions as per in terms of what's related to that, what serves you and what doesn't, and you end up having to take what serves you with you and leave behind certain things. Now, this is all intellectual and heavy thoughts. um, 6 in numerology is often about like how we think of others, how we help others. And so I feel like this doesn't just affect you and the decisions that you're making or the things that you're thinking about and whatever you've left to move forward with. Let me know if that makes sense for you, Elizabeth. Quite often there's something that you could be leaving behind or moving away from. This card sometimes comes up for something that has been hard to go through in the past and that you have to sort of move on from it. Now I'm just focusing on that general reading. I'm going to pull 3 cards and we're just going to look at how they speak to each other to get those messages. Oh, it makes sense. Okay, thank you for that, Elizabeth. I appreciate the confirmation there. Now the 3 cards that have come out are interesting. I feel like I'm just going to start and work my way through. They are all suits. And one of them is a court card. So you have a sword, a cup, and a wand. So I feel like this is probably a heavy topic to bring up, perhaps, and that's because there are some conversations that need to have that aren't having, and these are really hard conversations to have. If the card was this way, I would suggest that you'd be in those conversations, that you're having or about to have those really hard conversations to have. Where I feel like this is a conversation is swords are heavy thoughts and intellect. 3 in numerology is like communication. And so I feel like it's hard communication. And when you look at the picture that comes with it, I don't think I'm far off. So these are like stabbing into the heart, these thoughts. Really hard to have. And when it's reversed like this, the way that the card has come out, it just tells me that those conversations are not being had, or that there's something stopping those conversations from being happen, or that there's a resolve that isn't taking place. Now, the Queen of Cups is beside that, and it's also reversed. And so I feel like for you, Elizabeth, you may be having trouble sitting in the throne of the Queen, making these really emotional decisions. I'm not sure if you have this really hard conversation, if that's going to help the Queen flip over as well, and you'll be able to then consider everything that's involved, including the emotions that overwhelm take over. But I can see the overwhelm here in the next card, and this is the 10 of Wands. Now, Wands represent actions that need to be taken, and you can see here, this person looks overwhelmed with the amount of wands that he's carrying. 10 in numerology is often about how we get to the goal. What's the next step? And that brings us back to the beginning again, because 10 breaks down to a 1 in numerology. Now, I see this as being a bit of an overwhelm. And the advice that usually comes with this card, Elizabeth, is to take your time, go through 1 wand at a time. Each wand represents an action. So every wand that you're carrying symbolically, according to the tarot card, is an action that you need to fulfill or complete. If you focus on one action at a time and put that aside when it's done, and then you focus on the next one and you complete that action and you put it aside when it's done, eventually you're going to be carrying less wands. the less wands you're carrying, the less burden it's going to feel, the less overwhelming it's going to be. So just know to take your time going through this process. I don't think this is easy. I think that whatever you're leaving behind is probably still affecting you in some way, and it may still affect you as long as you don't have those conversations. I think this feels like something that needs to happen. When you do revisit, whatever conversation needs to happen, this card is potentially going to flip around, and then you'll be having that conversation, exploring these heavy feelings and working it out. And maybe then the healing can start. Quite often, this card can represent a healing that needs to happen, but something needs to happen first. If you often get the 10 of Wands in a reading, either self-readings or when you go to someone for a reading, quite often tarot is really good at hammering home those messages, you know. I've learned that if I don't listen to the advice in a tarot reading, it often comes up and just repeats itself until I follow through. Tarot can be quite persistent in that way. So if you feel connected to the 10 of Wands, or this constantly repeats itself in your readings, keep that in mind. It could be telling you about overwhelm. It could be giving you a better way or impression of dealing with all of that happening. It could also be warning you that, you know, the load isn't going to get light anytime soon, but that's okay if you take your time and work through those actions one at a time. I hope that that's helpful for you, Elizabeth. I'm looking at how I can expand on this a little further. And just given the emotion that's involved here, I'm being drawn to my experiences deck. Now, I want to use a card from this deck and a card from my emotional activators deck. I think that that would be maybe helpful given what you're going through, and the process of working through these swords of, you know, what you take with you and what you leave behind. I hope that that makes sense. Yes, thank you. Okay, thank you, Elizabeth, for that answer there. So I'm just going to continue with this. I like to call this the Emperor card of this deck. 13 in numerology breaks down to a 4. It's about finding grounding in yourself. And you can see here that the Emperor has sort of turned his back. And what I really think that this is really saying, the intuitive impression that I get from this card, Elizabeth, is to believe in yourself, to trust that you're doing the right thing, that you know, even if there's sacrifices involved, if it was the right decision, then it was the right thing to do. Quite often, you know, the emperor or the king will be put in that position. They have to do what's best for maybe the in the long term, or perhaps they have to make a difficult decision to move forward. Now this card flipped over, and so I have to go by the cards that automatically flip over. I did do a previous Tarot Talk discussion on like jumper cards if you're interested to know more about that. This is the 81st card of this tarot deck. 81 in numerology breaks down to a 9. It's about you know, getting to the goal, finding the path, the leading to that spiritual development and journey, the success of the journey. And you can see here, it's looking through the rear view mirror. It's trying to process looking back rather than where you're going looking forward. And I find this a kind of a repetitive message in that we're seeing the back of the head of the emperor and we're seeing what is behind you. I really think what this is really saying, Elizabeth, is that even though you're moving away from something, you really do need to process the effect of what you're moving away from. I don't know if this situation is fully over for you, And I see that in terms of how this Queen of Cups and the Three of Swords is reversed sitting in your reading. If these flip around, I think you're going to be then thrusted like as if the Emperor's turning around, or that you're going to then see where you're going when you can process what's behind you. I do hope that this is helpful, Elizabeth. I do wish you well on your journey. I don't think this would be an easy thing, just given the emotions that are involved. But keep in mind, you have the Emperor on the table. I think the advice that's coming out of this is that you can depend on your strength, that you are strong and free-willed, and you have the potential to make this happen. I do hope that that's helpful, Elizabeth. I'm going to move on now to Jeff. Jeff, if you're still on the call, let me know. I'm just going to clear my cards in the meantime. Okay, thank you for that affirmation there, Elizabeth, that this all makes sense and is very helpful. I appreciate that. I like to know that my readings are helpful. So Jeff, let me know if you're still on the call and if you'd like a general reading, or if you have a specific topic or question you'd like me to focus in on. Oh, hi, Jeff. Thanks for joining. Thanks for waiting as well. And I'll just quickly mention that after Jeff, I have Andre, then Cynthia, then Janet. So keep in mind that each reading takes about 10-15 minutes roughly to do. And so Janet, you probably still have about 45 minutes to an hour to wait. So please stay with us. Okay. General is good. Thank you, Jeff. I'm going to first focus on your one card impression pull with this deck. And this is just one card that's going to tell me a bit about your energy in the moment. Now, one of the things I noticed, Jeff, when I'm shuffling the deck, because I'm connecting with your energy and charging the cards with that intention, is that the cards are a bit more rigid with you. They're kind of hitting each other. They're not wanting to go together, or they have a very specific order that they're wanting to be in. And quite often that can be a signal for me, or a sign that the person I'm reading for may be against themselves in their own way, sort of like the flow of energy and you're kind of going against that flow. Just keep that in mind. I don't know if that makes sense. Oh, and there's a jumper card, so I have to follow that card. And the card that came out for you, Jeff, is the Temperance card. This is a higher arcana card, so this is an important message from this tarot deck. And it's really talking about balance that's being created. What's standing out for me most are the in the imagery are the cups the liquid is being exchanged from one to the other. And for me, what's standing out from that symbolism is like balancing positive to negative. I think that you're dealing with some negativity around you, and you have to sort of balance that into like looking at the bright side of things somehow, or making this a positive experience. When like, where is the positive in this? And what's also standing out for me is the sun in the background, and how it's sort of it almost reminds me of whether it's a sunrise or sunset. That's not normally how that glow stands out for me, so I find that interesting that that's how it's standing out for me today. And I feel like this is a choice. I feel like this is a choice of perception. In other words, you could look at this as a sunrise, or you could look at it like a sunset. Which are you seeing it as? So in symbolisms or in association terms, a sunrise would be the beginning of something, the start of a new day or a new dawn or an enlightenment of some kind. Whereas a sunset could be the completion, the ending of something, perhaps a darkening. Which one of those stands out for you most? I have a feeling you need to make sure that you find a balance between these energies that are going on for you. Does that make sense for you? I feel like that balance may be a bit of a struggle in some way. I also feel like because it's the Temperance card, the glow around the head really stands out for me too. And that kind of says to me that you got this, that, you know, I think there's confidence there. It's just a process that you have to go through. It does make sense. Okay, thank you for that. And so two higher arcana cards are booking this reading, bookending this reading. One's reversed and one's not. And so I feel like there's some sort of conflict happening here. Now, the cards that are involved in that conflict are interesting, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But first, I want to just draw attention to the suit card that came up in the middle. This is the Nine of Wands reversed. Normally the card looks like this, and it would be like a person standing for their own action. And you can see here there are other actions that are behind him, so he's sort of being supported in the action that he's taking. When it's reversed, it can mean one of two things. Either, Jeff, you don't feel supported by the people around you, that the actions that are happening around you are in conflict with your own action, or you may be having trouble getting your action in um, in sync with the actions that are happening around you. So your actions may be very different from other actions. So either you're going through a process that there's an expectation on how somebody would do this, and you're doing it your own way, kind of experience. I get that kind of sense out of this, but that your action may not be, I want to say, agreed upon, but it's more complicated than that. Does this make sense to you? Now, when I look at the higher arcanas that are bookending the message, I'm just going to start at one and move to the other. It's the Chariot card. This is not reversed, and this often means that you're getting on the go. You know, you're off to the races, so to speak, and you're going to achieve that goal. You have to do all the things that are needed to win the race. In the symbolisms of a chariot, you know, you have to drive the horses, you have to steer them, you have to fix a broken wheel, you have to avoid damage, you have to take those turns sharp. You know, there's so much involved, and it all happens so very fast, and it leads to a final outcome. That's the feeling of that's being brought here. And then you have the Lover's card reversed. Now, the Lover's card, when it looks like this, is often about a relationship. This can represent something that you love to do, or like a hobby or something like that. But I do get the sense that this involves someone that you love. When it's reversed like this, it could mean sort of a disconnect, or that there's some sort of, I'm getting the feeling of I don't want to call it a misunderstanding, but there's, I think it just needs to be worked through. There's something there about this couple that's standing out to me that makes me feel like it's involved in this chariot race. Does this make sense to you? Um, when I look at these cards together, one being reversed and one not, it kind of gives me the impression of like one person, that the two people may not be exactly on the same page, perhaps. Um, Now, what's really standing out for me is I don't get the sense of like an intimate relationship, almost like it's a partnership over something that you love. Does that make sense? There's a really interesting feel in this reading, and I want to narrow it down a little further. I think I'm going to look at expanding this into my Witch's Wisdom deck. This deck is really good at digging deep at some of the messages that need to be heard. Yes, it does. Okay, thank you for that, Jeff. I appreciate knowing that this makes sense to you. I hope that the messages that are being received are helpful for you. I'm going to try and narrow down a little further what it is that you're needing to be heard with this deck. And just one more time. There we go. Okay, so a higher arcana card has come out with a court card and a suit. Now the suit and the court card are the same. They are of the same suit, of earth. Excuse me. I'm going to focus on the actual, like, work my way up through the levels of cards. This is the 10 of earth reversed. It often represents, again, it's sort of that disconnect feeling that I have. When the card is this way, it means that everything is connected to each other. You can see here that they use mushrooms as an example because mushrooms have these really fine roots called versimile, believe it's called, and they spread out to other, and where other mushrooms will grow, and how everything is connected. And this is symbolic to how everything in life is connected. If you look at things from a pagan perspective, everything in nature can be connected. And so it's really about those connections of life. And when it's reversed, it can mean that you're not making those connections, or that connections need to be severed and remade. Now, the next up level card is the court card of this tarot, and it's the craftsman of earth. I like to look at this as the green man card. It's really about finding your own masculine instincts. It's about going within, knowing what you want for yourself and how you're going to get it, and then making it happen and fulfilling that goal. It's about following your instincts and trusting your intuition. And then what this leads up to is the important message of this advice that I'm looking into, those deep messages from within, and that is the strength card. Now, the strength card does not appear on the table for someone who is weak, who doesn't have the ability to be really confident. And so I really think that, Jeff, you can stand in your own confidence. You can stand in your own power. You have this strength to you that you can rely on. I think if you follow that strength and you trust your intuition, this card is going to flip around, and you're going to be making the connections and understanding where everything fits. And right now with this card reversed, it almost feels like you're still putting that together. And the more that you put that together, the more it's going to make sense as you go forward. Now, this is all, when I bring this right back to where you are now in the moment, you have the temperance card sitting in your position for the impression of now. And I just think that this is time and patience and allowing things to balance, and that's going to help you make these connections and move forward and probably get to your goal in the chariot race. I do hope that this is helpful for you, Jeff, or that this fully makes sense for you. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to move on to Andre now. Andre, if you're available and still in the call, let me know. And if you have a topic or question that I can focus on for your reading, then I will definitely do that. I'm just going to charge and put away the cards. Okay, thank you for that, Jeff. I appreciate that message. Hi, Andre. Thanks for waiting. Appreciate it. I'm just going to clear the decks here, and then I'll start with your reading. Now I'm going to start in similar to how I have with all the readings tonight. I'm going to start with a one-card impression pull from my Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and that's just going to tell me what your something in your energy in the moment, and then I'll move to this deck. If you have a topic or question or general, I have a question, please. Absolutely. If you let me know what the question is, you can either give me the general topic of the question, or you can be specific, and I can suggest a, if that's helpful, I can suggest a tarot spread that may help narrow it down. Let me know in the chat, and I will start with your one-card impression pull. So for you, Andre, I have the Two of Cups reversed. This is often an emotion that's not materializing between two people. And I don't see this as a relationship like lovers. I see this as like a partnership of some kind that just isn't materializing or isn't forming. I'm not sure if it was an expected partnership that didn't go well, or if it's a partnership that formed and it just didn't materialize in the way that was first first expected. If it was this way, this would be a bringing together of people and a really good feeling about this other person and a partnership that gets created and you can help each other in some way. So when it's reversed like this, there could be something stopping that connection or stopping that them from helping each other in some way. So just keep that in mind. I feel like that's in your energy. And I'm just looking for your question. You're very welcome, Jeff. Thank you for that message from the previous reading. I appreciate that confirmation and that this was helpful for you. Andre, can you be more elaborate? Basically, look at David's towards me. Could you maybe, I don't know if there's a typo in that or if it could be explained a little more clearly, your question. I should mention that sometimes it takes 10 to 30 seconds for things that get written into the chat to show up on the screen. So if I'm taking a while to see your response, I do apologize. It just means that I may not have seen it yet come up. You're very welcome, Jeff. Thank you for those messages. I appreciate helping out. I'm just reading the message from. Oh, I see. Okay, thank you for that. For clarifying your message, Andre. I appreciate that. Just gonna make sure I see other messages coming up. No, I appreciate that, Andre. You have been clear. I think I know what you're talking about now. Thank you for clarifying. No, your English is good, actually. I think it's me. It's hard to read on the screen, and plus, I just I wasn't getting it at first, but I think I get it now. So I'm going to focus on that question. Now, just to let you know, Andre, I can't bring David's energy into the reading because I don't have his permission. He's not here to give that in the moment. But what I will do is focus on this from your perception, from your energy. I'm going to connect with you, Andre, and connect with that question, focus on that question in terms of David's involvement. And you're really wondering, according to the chat, how David's feeling and energies for you, right? So I'm going to focus on that. Given your question for this deck, this makes sense to me. If you feel like this partnership is forming and it's not materializing, if David is the other person in the image, for example. I feel like this is ready. Just need to cut the deck. Okay, so really important message in here for you, Andre. Each card is a higher arcana, 3 higher arcana cards. What this is telling me is this is a very important message for you and that this is the subject and tone of the reading. I'm just going to go in the order that they came out. It's really saying that you're coming out of some sort of shell, that you're no longer being the hermit and that you're not staying within anymore. If the card came out this way, this is the Hermit card, and it's showing that somebody would go within, deep within, and kind of going closed, kind of introverted. So when the card is reversed like this, in the way that it came out for your reading, it suggests to me that you're no longer being introverted, that you're coming out on the outside. Maybe you're revealing your feelings towards this partnership of some kind. Now, I'm going to move on to this card because these are the cards that are reversed. The next card that's reversed is the Emperor card. Now, this card often represents one of 2 things. One is that this card often represents like a missing fatherly figure of some kind. And the second, which I think is more accurate for you, David, or sorry, Andre, in regards to David, is this masculine, making decisions, stepping into your power, and it's just not materializing. I have a feeling it's kind of representation of both. You know, David could be the missing masculine energy that I'm talking about here, but I feel like it's also something that you need to connect with. Now, the Fool card is in the center of this reading. Now, don't let this card fool you. One of the misinterpretations of this card is that the Fool represents somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, and that's complete opposite. That's what it would mean if it came out reversed, but it didn't for your reading. And so often the Fool knows exactly what they want, exactly what they're doing. They know how they feel, they know what they're thinking, and yet everyone else around them can't explain it. They don't understand. They're looking at that person as if they're a fool when they know exactly what's going on. The symbolisms that are involved in this is usually somebody who's falling in love and they're about to fall off a cliff. Um, that's sort of the feeling of this, that you know exactly how you're feeling, you know exactly what's happening, but everyone else is looking at you like this, like you're being a fool, or they don't understand when you understand clearly. Given that there's this understanding and you're coming out of this introverted place, I think the only card that's really concerning is this Emperor that's upside down. Either you're having trouble sitting into this power of yours. It could be about confidence or courage to take the next steps forward. Now, I try to look at this from the perspective of your interactions with, as you said, with David. And I find this really interesting. I feel like both of you are going through this process. I don't think that this is like determining your place in here or his. I feel like it's trying to give me both the interaction that's happening, if this makes sense to you, Andre. I'm going to try and expand on this further. I'm wondering if my Zen deck would be helpful, because I feel like with this card being reversed, it could be about the interaction between you. And so I'm going to ask this deck for advice in the interactions between you. What interactions need to happen for this to go the way that you're expecting? Oh, that makes sense. Okay, thank you, Andre. Right. I'm hoping that when we look at the interactions that are happening between you, that that'll give us sort of a sense of um, David's feelings and energies towards you. I think the only way to be any more accurate on that, or more refined on that question, would be to actually have David participate in the reading and energy and see what exactly is going on. But we're working with what we got here. So I feel like the interactions that are between you are a little stressful and risky right now. These two cards are speaking side by side. This is the 5 and 7 of fire in this tarot deck. It often is associated with like wands, and fire and wands in tarot are associated with like taking action, doing what you need for yourself. And so the one card is the totality card, and the other one is the stress card. So the totality card is all about giving it your all, 110%. Like you have to put in so much effort to pull this off. Notice how there's no safety net under these trapeze artists. They are giving it all. They are performing with 110% skill and expectation that this is going to go well. On top of that, you have the stress card. Now, 5 in numerology is usually about a choice of actions that make things easier for you with this card. And 7 in numerology is usually about spiritual development and learning a lesson for yourself. And you can see here that the stress that's involved is almost like overwhelm. You have this like juggler, and he's juggling far too many things while he's bouncing on a balloon or a ball, and there's this little monkey who's about to pop that balloon. um, you must feel this way in some way, that everything could just like pop in a moment, or that it's kind of risky, or that you're walking on eggshells, so to speak. But then at the same time, there's this breakthrough. And I think that perhaps this stress and totality feeling has brought in this breakthrough. Perhaps you were persistent enough to exceed and excel in what you were hoping for. That's the feeling I get from this card. If you don't feel like you've broken through yet, don't give up. I feel like you will. If you feel like there's been a breakthrough, I would go with that and know that you can maybe put some of that stress and totality behind you. Now, I do feel like some of that is still involved, and so I'm not sure what the situation is that's causing so much stress in this, other than just having it, having like once, for example, what I'm trying to say is once this materializes and you get this partnership into a better place, the stress card will flip around and there'll be less stress, right? Because you'll be doing it together. Okay, thank you for that, Andre, letting me know that that makes sense. In this advice moving forward, I really think that it's saying not to give up, to actually put in that 110% and juggle those juggle what you need to. And this could be an impression. Quite often when we have to do this to get to a breakthrough, it could be that you're giving them an impression of how hard you're actually working towards this. I hope that that makes sense, Andre. I hope that this was helpful. Oh, I understand what you're saying. I was just reading the messages there that were popping up from you, Andre, and I can understand where you're coming from there. I think as long as you're showing the effort and you're putting in that the effort that's required, I think there's going to be this breakthrough. If you're not experiencing it yet, it's coming. You're very welcome, Andre. Thank you for confirming that this all makes sense. I do hope it's helpful. So, Andre, I'm going to put the cards away, and Cynthia, you're next. Thank you for letting me know that you're already on the call there. I see you. So just if you have a topic or question, Cynthia, that you'd like me to focus on, otherwise I can leave it general. I'm just clearing the decks and then I'll start with your reading. Okay, just general. Perfect. I will do that. So I'm just starting with a one card impression pull for you, Cynthia. This is just going to tell me something about your energy in the moment. For you, Cynthia, I get the Chariot card reversed. This is often an indication for something that you're having trouble getting off the ground or getting on the go. As soon as you figure out what's stopping you, or that what's getting in the way, and you can resolve that, this card will flip around and you'll be off in the go, and going to win the race and doing everything that the chariot driver needs to do to achieve his goal. But in the meantime, it looks like this. There's something that's preventing you, kind of like when you look at it from a chariot's perspective. The wheel axle may have broken, so you're repairing the wheel in order to get moving again. Now I'm just going to continue with your general reading. I'm going to pull 3 cards from my Morgan Greer deck, and we're just going to look at how those cards speak to each other to get that message. And then just mentioning Janet, you'll be next, and that will be all of the readings for tonight. So anyone who may have been interested to receive a reading and you didn't get in the list, please feel free to let me know that you were interested, and I will include you in the draw that is coming up, that is happening on March 18th. So the winners of the draw are notified through messages, however they got involved. So for example, if you write me an email saying I'd like to get involved in the draw, I will respond to you in email letting you know if you're a winner. If you let me know on this broadcast or through Facebook, then I will respond through Facebook Messenger letting you know that you're a winner. And then we can arrange for that, that remote reading. Okay, Cynthia, I feel like these cards are ready. Just going to cut the deck. And Cynthia, I got 3 cards. 2 of them are wands that are upright, and one of them is a higher arcana. I'm going to work my way to that important message. I'm going to start with the 6 of wands. This is often about the actions that are taken that support us, and you can feel proud. Notice how the person, the main person in this sort of parade has a wreath on their wand. What this is saying is that you can feel proud of the actions that you've taken. There's something about this that you understand and that you can acknowledge in the effort and actions that you've taken. And you feel proud of those actions, almost like um, what's standing out for me is the horse. Like you can be on that high horse. Not that it doesn't come across like you're tooting your own horn. I don't mean it like that. I just feel like this is like you've worked at something and now you can feel proud of what you've the actions that you've taken that have gotten you here. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not a lot of work. The next card that I'm drawn to is the 10 of Wands. And 10 in numerology is often about repetitiveness or reaching the goal and starting back at the beginning. And that can be overwhelming. The amount of that has to be done or accomplished in the moment is overwhelming. As you can see here, this person's carrying way too many wands. And the advice that often comes with this card, as I mentioned earlier, is just selecting each wand one at a time, working out that action, and that'll help you instead of looking at all of that's involved, which could be overwhelming. Now, the higher arcana card that I'm drawn to end with in this reading is the death card reversed. I feel like you're not going through some sort of transition that may be needed. As soon as you start going through this transition where something needs to be let go of in order to move into something new, this card's going to flip around and you're going to start going through that transition into whatever this new space is. Now, don't be alarmed. The death card, and I think you know this, but I'm just going to describe for the viewers. The death card often doesn't represent mortality, as I explained in some of the misconceptions. So I'm glad this card came up. It's really about the change that's required. This is a type of change that it uses death as a symbolism to describe that in order to pass away from, in order to move on to the next life, you have to pass away from this one. And it uses that symbolism to talk about a change. In order to go on to the next chapter in your life, you have to let go of something. So there's something that you need to change or move from in order to move forward. Now, I get the sense that this is related to the actions that you're taking. I feel like there's a connection there. When you resolve this, I have a feeling that in the energy that you're at now with the Chariot card sitting like this, if you can resolve this, feel good about yourself and work out these heavy tasks that need to be created, this card's going to flip around. You're going to be off to the go. You may realize that change is going to just, boom, 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 and you're in the midst of that change. But in the meantime, it looks like this. There's something that is needed first. Interestingly enough, as you said there in the comments, Cynthia, the death card always comes up for you. As I explained already tonight, that can often mean that there is a repetitive message in what the tarot is trying to tell you, either through your own self-readings or through readings that you receive. But if you receive the death card regularly, there could be something about that you may not be picking up or that it's trying to tell you. I find, and I think I said this already, but it's worth reiterating, I find that when repetitive cards come up, it's usually something I'm not listening to. And it's not until I start listening to what the card is intending that it stops coming up. Let me know if that's helpful, Cynthia. I'm going to expand on this further. I feel like there could be some sort of balance that's required in this between two aspects of your life in some way. And that could be the transition that we're talking about. So I'm just based on that intuitive sense, I'm going to go to my pagan deck for this next part. I'm just going to ask this deck to kind of clarify some of that balance that's required. What is required for you to move forward? Given that the Chariot card is reversed in your energy in the moment, and you have this transition that you need to face, and all of these actions that surround you, I'm going to try and narrow down what's needed to move forward. Now, the cards are a little rigid and kind of harder to shuffle than usual. Usually this deck is very flowy. And so I just feel like that is, and my interpretation of that is that you need to really go with your own intuitive and your own instincts. You may not be fully able or following through with what your instincts are telling you. Not that you're against yourself in some way, but that there's things that maybe just, do you know what it feels like? It feels like stumbling blocks or hurdles. That's a better way to say it. It feels like hurdles. Now, in the messages that have come out here, you have a higher arcana and two suits. The Ten of Swords is where I'm going to start. The Ten of Swords is reversed. And this card often comes out for someone who is revisiting some heavy thoughts and really taking initiative in sorting that out, and just like, you know, learning, expanding, healing from it. The card normally looks like this, and you can see here this person is sort of smashing the swords. They're getting rid of those heavy thoughts and intellectual processes that have held them down or that they've worked on for so long. When it's reversed like this, it means something's stopping you from doing that, Cynthia. That there could be something that you have to solve first, and that then is going to allow you to start working through this for yourself. Now, the next one is the Ace of Pentacles. And this is often when we redefine what we need for ourselves. What's standing out for me most is the actual pentacle. And the pentacle in tarot often represents coins, like prosperity. And that's the feeling I'm getting from this. It's almost like you've discovered a new way of making money, or a new way of finding prosperity, a new way of gaining your value. And I feel like what also stands out for me is the cloth that the coin is sitting on. It's almost like a shield, but it stands out to me like a coin. And I just think this is about finding comfort and grounding in yourself. Now, the last card that I want to focus on is the Temperance card reversed. Now, the Temperance card is often about finding balance between two aspects of life. If you can see here, the imagery on the card when it's not reversed is really talking about, sorry, I'm blocking it. You can see here they have like a deity statue on their desk, and they're at work, or they have like, they're doing their bills and they're doing their job, and yet they're reflecting back on the pagan side of their life. It's about finding balance between the mundane and the magical, or about finding balance between what is what you're having to do and what you would like to do. When it's reversed, it means that that balance isn't taking place, that it's a struggle to maintain that balance, that there could be something getting in the way of creating that balance. And as soon as you resolve that problem, this card's going to flip around, and you'll be creating this balance between perhaps your spirituality and your home life, or your work, or like there's these different aspects of your life that are that could coincide. And when this is reversed, it means that they're struggling to do that. Now, when I look at this reading as a whole, I see two higher arcana cards. There's three on the table. One is reversed. Sorry, one is not reversed and two are. And that's standing out to me. And I just feel like, Cynthia, that there could be some spiritual guidance in this. Perhaps an ancestor or some sort of spirit acknowledgement is trying to reach out to you, and you may be missing some of that message. So just keep that in mind. Also, I'd like to point out, I feel necessary to point out that you have wands, you have swords, you have pentacles. There are no cups in this reading. And I think it's sometimes just as important to acknowledge what shows up as what doesn't show up. And for you, Cynthia, that's standing out for me. That the reason there's no cups is because you don't need to receive messages based on emotion. I think you have your emotions in check. You have an understanding of what you're feeling. And that also tells me that whatever this is about, it's passionate for you. So I feel like this transition is going to be an important stepping stone of some kind, or a springboard into something new. Always helpful. Okay, thank you for that, Cynthia. I appreciate that feedback. Oh, you're very welcome, Andrea. I appreciate that. When I'm done this broadcast, I will post it online. So watch for that, or you could go to my website, www.staffordtarot.com, and I always post them on there as well. And you can always go back and rewatch your reading and see the messages that were delivered at that time. Just keep in mind, for anyone that looks back at their reading in the broadcast, that it is from the perspective of when the reading was given. If you've made changes or made decisions based on between the time of the reading and when you're reviewing or watching it again, it may not be as accurate because changes have happened. You would need to redefine with a new reading to look at the perspective from that point. Thank you so much for letting me read for you, Cynthia. I do hope that this was helpful. I'm going to put the cards away and move on to Janet. Janet, if you're still on the call, I really appreciate that. You've waited the longest to receive your reading tonight. So let me know that you're still there, Janet, and that you're interested in a reading, and what your if you want a general reading, or if you'd like to focus on a specific question or topic. You're very welcome, Cynthia. Thank you so much for allowing me to do your reading for you. So I'm just looking for Janet on the call. If you've already put your message up there and I'm looking like I haven't seen it yet, it just means that I probably haven't. It sometimes takes a little bit of time for the messages to appear for me compared to when they're entered into the chat. I do hope, Janet, that you were able to stay on the call until your time to receive the reading. There was one time that I did a broadcast and the messages from someone just wasn't showing up. And during the broadcast, I wasn't able to see any of the messages. But then when I posted the video after on my Facebook channel, I was able to rewatch and see the comments that I missed. And so I do review the broadcast after to make sure that I haven't missed anyone. And anyone that I do miss or haven't acknowledged their request for a reading, I often reach out to them and offer them a reading just out of respect. I really appreciate everyone who comes to these broadcasts. And so, Janet, if I've missed you, no worries. I will be reaching out to you. I will check in with your Facebook profile and send you a direct message, and we'll connect, and I'll still offer you the reading that you've missed tonight. Thank you so much for everyone who has joined me on this Tarot Talk Live broadcast. The next Tarot Talk Live broadcast is going to be, oh my goodness, when is the next one? It's going to be in April. It's usually the second Tuesday of the month, and I always start at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I run for about 2 hours or so. All the information and the next date will be available on my website, staffordtarot.com. Check it out. As I mentioned earlier, that website is really created or designed to be a rabbit hole that anyone who's interested in tarot can just fall into and just discover as much as they can about tarot in hopes that it helps them to set up a unique practice for themselves. So check it out. And I'm just going to check the messages here. Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you so much for coming and joining me on the Tarot Talk website, the Tarot Talk live broadcast tonight. I wish you all well, and I look forward to the next broadcast. Please keep in mind for those upcoming events, if you're interested to receive an intuitive reading envelope, or if you want to attend the Introduction to Mediumship workshop, the Spirit Talk, either in person or remote, please feel free to reach out to me. All of the information, including the tickets links, are available on my website, staffordtarot.com. Thank you so much. I very much enjoyed doing readings for everyone, and I will talk with you again soon.